The sequel to one of the greatest Pixar films ever, Inside Out, just released. So today, I thought it was time for me to stop and talk about Inside Out 2. Please note that everything that I will say in this video is just my very own opinion. My name is SW Nation, and you are free to comment down below. What did you think of Inside Out 2? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Comment down your thoughts in the comment section below. Please don't forget to check out that Twitter. That link is in the description, along with that TikTok. That link is also in the description as well. I got some pretty positive things to say about Inside Out 2. Pixar is back. Movies are back. With that being said, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get right into our review.
Orange? Who made the console orange?
Do I look orange?
I didn't touch it.
Orange is not my color.
Not me.
Hello? Ah! Oh my gosh, I'm anxiety. Where can I put my stuff?
A new emotion. Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. We wanted to make such a good first impression.
What do you mean we?
This was in my top 10 highly anticipated films list. So with that being said, let's get right into the good. And the good thing that comes to mind here is that, Pixar is back. And I think we haven't seen a Pixar film since last year's Elemental, which I really liked. I wanted more from it, but I was pleasantly surprised from Elemental. So we're going into this film. It's not an original IP. It's a sequel to Inside Out. And I gotta say, I found it to be very great. I loved it. I loved Inside Out 2. I'm just rambling off the riff here before I go into, my actual spiel. I saw this film with my baby cousins, and one of them was born after Inside Out. The others were just being born when Inside Out came out. So I grew up with this, and now 10 years later, at their age, they're finally able to kind of understand more what Inside Out is really about, and they're having conversations with me about the emotions and what's your favorite emotion and what the movie is about. That made the experience a whole lot better for me. Originally, I was just gonna go see it by myself, but I chose to see it a day late with my baby cousins to take them with me because they love this type of stuff, and I love this type of stuff, and getting to talk about it. Even though they're 10 years old and I'm 10 years older than them. So right off the bat, my experience for this movie is one that I'll never forget because of them. So going into our review here, with the added fact that Riley is now older, we get to explore more sides of her, including the added element of puberty. Now, they don't go too far into puberty. They don't do all the things that happen with puberty when it comes to women. They don't even go too far into the teenage angst, but they focus on the most important parts, like embarrassment or anxiety. The new emotions that are introduced, they all feel very familiar to me, as I have gone through puberty. So I get the envy or the ennui-isms inside of the film. As for the movie itself, it's another outstanding Pixar entry. The animation is beautiful, it's colorful, it's vibrant. Dare I say, it rivals the first, maybe even better. In this one, we're able to get more out of the three emotions. We're talking about fear, anger, and disgust. We get to go on this adventure with them, including joy. They were more or less afterthoughts in the first film, so I love the fact that we kind of get a little bit more of a personality out of them this film. I gotta say, out of the old emotions, my new favorite one is disgust. And another thing that I love about the emotions is that even though there's anger, there's disgust, there's fear, they all love Riley. And even though these newer emotions are mostly antagonistic throughout the film, they want what's best for Riley. These emotions, some of them do great things for Riley, some of them do bad things, but in the hopes that it will do something good for Riley. And that leads us into our new emotions. We're talking about envy, ennui, embarrassment, and anxiety. I found envy to be my favorite. I've been watching the new show Bear, and Io, I think that's her name, Io, she's great. I mean, she's great in the show. But also when I was watching the film, all I could see was her character from The Bear. It's so weird to me that I'm watching Inside Out 2, and just last night I finished the first season of The Bear. But the standout emotion here is anxiety. They do something special with her by making her jittery, and the way that she speaks is almost in a panic-like manner. It feels like what anxiety should sound like. Likewise, Envy always spoke as if she was comparing herself to someone. Ennui felt like she was always bored, and embarrassment was always pretty shy. These new emotions all felt like welcome additions, and like I said before, while antagonistic, they all want what's best for Riley. Creatively, it's aligned with the first film, expanding Riley's mind as she gets older. We get introduced to new parts of her brain, and I think it all works. And the first film used the fact that Riley was an 11-year-old girl to their advantage, so we can see what goes on inside of a child's head, but now we're seeing what goes on inside of a teenager's head. But it's something that my baby cousins don't truly understand. They were asking me questions in the film like, what's nostalgia? What's that? And it made the experience a whole lot better for me, because obviously I want them to experience that on their own. When they become teenagers, they're going to experience almost every single thing that Riley experienced in this film. And the greatest thing about these Inside Out films is that it makes it accessible to everyone. I would say check out the show Big Mouth. The show Big Mouth does a lot to kind of show what puberty does to us. And it's more in a satirical, dark, edgy way, but it's still very much true, and it's all relatable. This one is a little bit more kid-friendly version, but it's still all very much relatable. Riley also felt like more of a character inside of this film. Inside of the first movie, it kind of felt like Riley was controlled by her emotions, which is fair because she was a child. She's now a teenager in this film. So her emotions help her feel, but her actions are all her. Our actions kind of speak for us instead of our emotions as we get older. If the first film was about allowing yourself to not be okay, it's okay to not be happy all the time. It's okay to feel sadness. This film is accepting the fact that our flaws make us okay. But if we bottle up our emotions, our mistakes, our fears, and our anxieties, will eventually control us. The mixed thing here is, I'm not gonna say it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just something I wanted to talk about. The emotions have emotions as well. If we're talking about joy, disgust, fear, and anger, it's very odd when joy suddenly starts to feel sad. When joy cries, and I felt this way from the first film. Whenever joy cries or wherever joy feels sadness or gets angry, I felt like it was odd, because these are emotions, but they have their own personalities. They are very much conscious beings. It's almost like Toy Story, in a sense, where their only job is to be there for a child. Woody gains consciousness in the fourth film, whereas Buzz doesn't have an inner conscience. You can make an argument for that, to say that Woody has been around since the late 50s and Buzz just came out in the 90s. But it's kind of like that situation. These are emotions, and they have their own personalities. They have their own way of thinking. They have their own conscience. I can suspend a little bit of disbelief for that. The plot is very reminiscent of the first film. While not copying it at all, it kind of goes in a different direction. And like I said, we're on a different adventure with joy, but with anger, disgust, and fear. And finally, I've heard a lot of people talk about this. Anxiety is kind of an extreme version of fear. And a lot of people feel as though fear should have been anxiety. Anxiety should have been a natural progression of fear. As Riley gets older, the emotion of fear twitches and turns into anxiety. I think fear and anxiety, there's just a slight difference in the mix. Whereas anxiety is jittery, and you're like, is that person talking about me? I don't know if that person's talking about me. I don't know if I'm good enough. I will never be good enough. That's anxiety. That right there is anxiety. And I would say fear is more or less about being cautious. So I'm in the midst of the editing process, and this is the last thing that I recorded, because this is a thought that I had when I walked out of the film, but I never really elaborated on it inside of this review. Inside Out 2 is doing remarkably well, and I love Inside Out 2. But as good as the film is, Disney and Pixar is going to get the wrong message from this. Let's just make more sequels. Pixar had a 5-movie run of just original stories. You can make a case for Lightyear saying that it was a spinoff of Toy Story, so I guess, but that was still an original story nonetheless. We went from Onward to Soul to Luca to Turning Red to Lightyear to Elemental. Elemental ended up turning a profit, but Lightyear failed at the box office. It bombed. Soul, Luca, and Turning Red didn't even make it to theaters, and Onward was affected by a pandemic. Inside Out 2 comes out, and we're looking at Toy Story 4 numbers. We're looking at Incredibles 2 numbers. These are numbers that haven't even been hit since 2018, since 2019. I feel like it's going to send the wrong message. We didn't even get to support the original stories. And then once a sequel comes out, it's doing massive numbers. This movie is great because it tells a relatable story that's heartwarming and heartfelt. Overall, this is very much a nitpick, but I just feel as though this will send the wrong message. And I love the fact that it's doing great. In conclusion, Inside Out 2 for me surpassed an already S-tier film. We get to spend time with some underdeveloped emotions like disgust, anger, and fear, and we get introduced to new great ones. It doesn't pack the emotional punch of the original, but it allows for the audience to view Riley in a different light, and it also is opening up the door and introducing puberty to a younger audience. Like I said, my baby cousins haven't gone through puberty yet, but they were asking me questions like, what's nostalgia? And they were having full-on conversations with me about what they liked about the film. My baby cousins, there's 3 of them. They're all little girls. 2 of them are under the age of 10. 1 of them just turned 10. So they haven't gone through what Riley is going through here, what I have gone through. And so that's why I relate to it a little bit more than them. But they still love the film nonetheless. This film also tells the message of not letting our mistakes or anxieties control us. I love this film. I found it very relatable. I don't know where it's going to land on my Pixar ranking. I don't know where it's going to land on my end of the year ranking. All I do know is I'm giving this film an A+ and a 9.8 out of 10. And I would say it's better than the original. And it's rare that a sequel comes out, a 10-year-old sequel comes out, and it's better than the original for me. An already top 10 Pixar film for me. This was always number 6 or number 7 on my Pixar ranking, Inside Out. And Inside Out 2 surpassed it. I love the fact that this movie is going to have great legs. I love the fact that this movie is doing great at the box office. I love the fact that I had to switch theaters. I went to one theater and all of the showings were sold out. So we had to go to another theater downtown to get just front row seats. We had to get B-row seats. And that's close to the screen because every showing was sold out. This movie is doing great, and it deserves to do great. Movies are back. Pixar is back. Alright guys, that is it for the review. Please know that everything that I did say in this video was just my very own opinion, and you're free to comment down below. What did you think of Inside Out 2? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Comment down your thoughts in the comment section below. Please don't forget to check out that Twitter. That link is in the description, along with that TikTok. That link is also in the description as well. With all that being said, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Please don't forget to come back later for the Pixar films ranking. And I will see you all next time. Peace.